Hello and welcome to the Cozy Club. It is time for your August reset routine. Today we are going to be doing life admin and planning, a home reset and deep cleaning, book review and TBR for my July reads and then into my August books, and also a budget recap as well. So if that is something you're keen to see, grab yourself a cuppa and let's get into the video. Starting off with the life admin section because I feel like it really sets the tone and foundation for the month ahead. So get out your planner, your calendar, your journal, your pens and your highlighters, and let's get to the planning. Now that may involve setting up and re-establishing some goals for the month, a monthly budget, putting in your planner any key dates, birthdays, appointments, objectives, things that you want to achieve and accomplish, and maybe even jotting those on a physical and digital calendar also. I am going to be putting down all of my video ideas and already scheduled videos on my calendar, and then I'm also going to be picking out some books that I intended to read for the next month's Our Little Library Up Late uploads, but there is more on an Our Little Library update at the end of this video, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. Considering that I'm currently doing a low buy year, I have been very intentional about avoiding shopping wherever possible. I do have an Amazon Prime membership and I decided to take advantage of that this month to pick up some books that I had in my wish list, and I also needed to jump online and get myself a new camera. It was absolutely necessary because there was no sound happening with my trusty G7X. So I picked up this new Sony and I am very excited to get to using it. I also picked up a few books for Hunter to tuck away for Christmas or birthday, and just a few random household items such as some castor oil and some cleaning tablets for my coffee machine, as well as some filters there as well. And then just a few books for myself, which I will then be putting the titles of those on little pieces of paper, folding them up and sticking them in my TBR jar with the hope that one or more may be selected for my August reads. Make sure that you stick around because obviously we will be doing a July reading wrap up and August TBR coming up towards the end of this video. Moving into the cleaning portion of the reset, I'm starting off in the kitchen even though it was my deep clean area last month, because I actually forgot to wipe down at the top of these benches, which was on my little to-do list. So I'm just backtracking and getting onto that. If you're new here, at the start of the year, I created a deep clean home schedule where each month I would focus on deep cleaning a specific area of the house. I've done the bedrooms, the kitchen twice, the bathrooms, the laundry, and this month's deep clean area is actually the garage. it's kind of a hard place for me to deep clean because most of it doesn't belong to me, so I can't really like go decluttering things or moving stuff around in a way that's going to disrupt Dave's organizational systems and him knowing where things are. So I'm really just focusing on one, cleaning the inside of my car. I'm going to get in, just tidy it up initially and then give it a good vacuum and wipe down. And then when it comes to the rest of the garage, I'm going to back my car out of the garage, give it a good sweep, a good vacuum, just go around and try and get like dust and bits and whatnot off little skirting timbers and nooks and crannies and out of the dryer, etc. and try and just tidy up at least and line up as many things as I kind of can without putting them in places where Dave won't know where they are. So that's sort of my philosophy for the garage deep clean of the month. Just to backtrack, I also did a deep clean of my coffee machine and used all of my new cleaning bits and filters to refresh that as well while I was inside. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is just a quick little bit of vacuuming today. Obviously every week I do a whole house weekly cleaning routine of a Monday. Some days or weeks, sorry, should I say, it is a little bit more deeper than others. Sometimes I don't dust, I'll be honest, or I don't do the skirting timbers, and other times I feel like I have the motivation to do so. So if I am sort of not getting in and doing things like pretty consistently, at least I know that I have these monthly deep cleans to fall back on. You're someone that feels like they'd like a little bit more structure when it comes to cleaning and organizing their house, feel free to follow along with me for the rest of the year and to check off the different areas of your house as I'm doing mine. And if you need more consistent weekly cleaning motivation, I have heaps of Clean With Me videos up on my channel. They have their own Clean With Me playlist. I've got slow and relaxing cleaning, some Clean With Me at night, and a whole heap of Glee speed cleaning routines. So make sure you go and check them out after this video. Here is my July reading wrap up, and it has been a good month for reading. Hallelujah. Let's start off with the book that I finished first, which is This Is How Your Marriage Ends by Matthew Frey, A Hopeful Approach to Saving Your Relationship. I just picked this one up on a whim because, as we can see, it has a very interesting title, and I must say I did enjoy it. I found it to be a very easy read. I didn't necessarily find it particularly helpful. So some of the things that I wrote down were that it had a very personable voice and relatable anecdotes. I found that it was just like super easy to breeze through each chapter, and Matthew Frey had like a really easy to relate to kind of voice. It didn't seem condescending or like negative, but he wove in a lot of his own personal experience, which I did find maybe a little bit too repetitive and sometimes too specific to his own circumstances, where you necessarily couldn't relate it to your own life and relationships. And I felt like because of that, it was very like there was a very tunnel kind of vision or like audience of who this was for, and I saw that as being people who were either the antagonist or like dismissive, avoidant within the relationship. It was kind of more for them. And a lot of the time, I think, even though he was male, like it could have been applied to both male and females, but the way that he was writing it was, I feel, specifically targeting a male audience. I do think that there were some nuggets of wisdom in there, but overall, I wouldn't say that it was anything really new or insightful. Some of the things that I picked up were a lot of the time our behavior is not intentional. We just don't know any better. Like, we're not trying to hurt people that we love. And we need to have more empathy and accept that others will have different perceptions of the same experience. And it's not necessarily that they are wrong or that they misinterpreted things. That's just how they interpreted events. And we need to be able to validate that that is their lived experience, even if their lived experience wasn't our intention at all. So I do think that there are some things that you can gain from it, even if you're someone who's not struggling in their relationships. But yeah, I don't know that I specifically was the target audience for that one. And then the next one that I finished up, my friend Claire bought this for me, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I am so behind on this because I know that this has been like a big sensation for a number of years now. And the thing with Claire is she has this little rule, if you will, that if she's not into a book by the first 50 pages, she ditches it, which I think is very brutal, but to each their own. Now, if I were applying Claire's rule to this book, I would have ditched it because I did find that the first 50 pages were a bit slow and I wasn't necessarily getting into. I feel like it probably took me at least like halfway through the book to get into it, and then the last like third to a quarter of the book was really good. Now, despite the fact that it did take me that long, I would say overall I loved it, and it's going to be a 5-star read for me. I loved the world building of it, and you know, the backstory and history of the characters and the spring court and the different courts. So essentially it is a fairy, like fae related book. We've got, I'm not even sure how to pronounce her name, Farah. She accidentally kills a fairy who has crossed over into the mortal realm, their side of the wall, if you will. And the High Lord of whose court he belonged to comes over the wall to claim punishment and retribution for the death of an innocent. And normally that punishment would be her death, but he takes pity on her, if you will, and decides that her punishment is going to be that she needs to go over the wall to Printheon and live with him in the spring court for the rest of her life. And they're from like a very poor family at that time. So like one less mouth to feed seems like a good deal, and he's going to allegedly take care of her family. But while she is over in the fairy realm, she does learn that there is a blight that is taking out the fairy realm. There is a lot of danger on their side of the wall that may soon creep over into the human realm. As she's over there, she's coming up against like different dark forces and having to battle and kill them. And she's also learning some secrets behind the mysterious High Lord Temlin, who has essentially taken her prisoner. It's definitely like, you can see from the get-go that there's going to be a bit of a like enemies to lovers of sorts romance angle happening there. Slow burn, if you will. But I love the history, I love the action, I love the character. I feel like the main character, our female protagonist, Farah, I don't know how to pronounce her name, tell me in the comments if you know. I like that she's not your typical damsel in distress. She is very strong and independent and resourceful, and she is going to need those skills for later in the book because things happen to the High Lord Temlin, and she ends up coming to his rescue, but puts her in grave danger in the meantime. Overview there, if you've never read the book and if you're inclined to get into it, I would definitely recommend it. The ending for me was a little iffy. I wasn't 100% sold on like the very, very last bit of it, but it has compelled me enough that I do want to keep reading and I do want to get into the second book in the series. It also helped that there is a little snapshot of that book at the end of this one, and I really like how that one is starting off, and I feel like there's going to be a lot more character tension and drama and maybe like spice factor happening as well. So yeah, that was fantastic. Great imagery. It's just a good read if you're into your romantasy and your high fantasy. I would definitely recommend it. And going on to something equally as good, but completely shifting gears here, we've got Stolen Focus, Why You Can't Pay Attention by Johann Hari. And this for me is also going to be another 5-star read. This was actually recommended by my counselor, just in different topics that we were discussing during one of our sessions. And I was just like drawn into it. I initially thought that the main premise of it would be technology and its influence on like our focus and our thinking and whatnot, and it's definitely a major part of it. But not only does he talk about our individual uses of technology, but the tech industry and their, you know, manipulative intentions, and how I guess the bottom line is to capture our attention. And so we're coming up against forces that are much larger than ourselves. But he also talks about a range of other factors, such as like how over the past 100 years, the amount of hours per night that we sleep has dramatically decreased, and our stress levels and our working hours per week has dramatically increased, our exposure to pollution, the change in our diet, like all of these factors are holistically affecting us. And one of the things that he talks about that I feel like is really important is, yes, individual change is possible to some degree, but that we need to recognize we're coming up against forces that are institutionalized and are way bigger than we have the capacity to really deal with on our individual level. So yes, we do need like mass group action towards that, but we also need to have empathy and compassion with ourselves, knowing that we can literally only do the best that we can because we're fighting a losing battle, essentially. I just thought it was fantastic. Such a powerful message. You really need to go like borrow this from your library or buy it or whatever. I think it's a book for everyone of this generation. I really like how he weaves in his own personal anecdote and personal voice alongside like more important philosophical takeaways and a lot of research and interviews as well, just to give it a lot of credibility, but also make it seem like he's talking from his own experience and his own struggles. So it's definitely a relatable read. So I'm loving this one. I think I borrowed it from the library, but it's maybe even something that I need to come back to again and again. And then my last book for July, which I am not finished yet. I'm literally only halfway through. I started this a lot later in the month, and it's Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I did talk about in my July reset routine that Colleen Hoover has done me dirty, and some of her books are fantastic. Like I loved It Ends With Us, All Your Perfects, and even Ugly Love. But some of her other books were major letdowns for me. And this one kind of exists a little bit in the middle. It's a lot better than some of the other ones of hers that I've read. The premise is that Sydney has just broken up with her boyfriend because she finds out that he has been cheating on her with her roommate, and she ends up moving in with this guy who lives in the apartment complex, who is the one that tells her that it was happening. And they kind of develop this friendship and also working relationship because he is a songwriter. He's also deaf, and he's currently going through a writer's block, and she is kind of being the muse to inspire his lyrics. And other than the fact that this is probably one of Colleen Hoover's more earlier novels and her writing is not yet developed, it still feels like very juvenile at this point. Another problem that I'm having with this is even halfway through, I'm can tell that the story is going in the direction that Sydney and Ridge are going to get together and their working relationship and friendship is going to turn romantic. I have a problem with that because at this point, Ridge is currently in a long-term relationship with someone who is presented as a very likable character. So whether they're going to get together in like a nefarious sort of way, or whether it's going to be legitimate and he's going to break up with his girlfriend, it saddens me to know that he's going to break up with someone who is really nice and likable for someone else. And I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't endear me towards either Ridge or Sydney that he would just cast aside a really nice person and good relationship to just get with someone else that he barely knows. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that one. I mean, it's feeling like maybe a 3.5 at this point. I didn't rate this one. I'm probably going to say that this is maybe a 3.5 as well. So like some lower ones, but I feel like my 2 5s in a month, which is just unheard of, really helped to boost the overall average and just made it a great month of reading. So let's move on to August. Now, when I was setting up my July reads, I did consult the TBR jar just in case I needed an extra one. Clearly I need to finish off maybe someday. I'm not particularly enthused about it. I'm halfway through and I'm not really into it, so it could be a DNF. We'll see. I just borrowed it from the library. But one of the things I pulled out of the TBR jar was the Fairvale Ladies Book Club, another Sophie Green one. So this one is already on the agenda and says, it's 1978 in Australia's vast Northern Territory. Cyclone Tracy is a recent memory. Life is hard and people are isolated. Sybil is the matriarch of Fairvale Station, run by her husband Joe, with her son's English wife, Kate, finding life difficult in Fairvale, and her oldest friend, Rita, working for the Royal Flying Doctor Service in Alice Springs. Sybil devises a way to give them companionship. She forms a book club. Mother of 3, Sally Ann, from the dusty town of Catherine, joins them, and completing the group is Texas horsewoman Della. These 5 women are united by one need to overcome the vast distances of Australia's top end and friendship, tears, laughter, books, and love. I feel like this is just going to be like a classic drama, very character driven. So that will be like one end of the spectrum, and then giving me a bit of fantasy, and we're going like a little bit more vintage here. We've got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. I picked this up from the library truly because it has an absolutely gorgeous cover. So yes, don't judge a book by its cover. I do, honestly, I do. And I picked this one up. I mean, it's a classic story, so I needed to read it. It does have like a lot of cute illustrations throughout. So I feel like that will add a bit of a fun element as well. But I am going to consult the TBR jar and I'm going to pull out 2 reads from this one because I'm optimistic that I might be able to get through them. So let's go. I have recently, as you saw, picked up some new books from Amazon. So, Britney Spears and... I don't want Shelley Bay Swimming because that's Sophie Green. Is it bad to put something back in the TBR jar? I don't want 2 Sophie Greens though for the 1 month. Okay. Phantasma. All right, let's go get those. I love that we've got going one here, like a nice red kind of theme and then like a really dark sort of theme. All right, so Britney Spears, The Woman in Me, I picked up from the op shop and I have been so keen to read this. I think it's going to be a pretty quick and easy one. I have heard a few different spoilers from it, so I'm excited to get into that. And then Phantasma, I think I first heard about this from Carter Sullivan. She does heaps of sort of bookish type content, so if you love like talking about books and cozy vibes and introvert diaries, go check out her videos. But let's read the back. Welcome to Phantasma. There are only 2 rules to the game. Stay alive and don't fall in love. Oh, loving it already. When Ophelia's sister disappears, there is only one way to save her. Ophelia must enter Phantasma, a deadly contest inside a haunted mansion, and claim its prize, a single wish. In a maze of twisting corridors and lavish ballrooms, Ophelia will face 9 challenges, each more dangerous than the last. Just as fear threatens to overwhelm her, a mysterious stranger offers her a bargain. Charming, arrogant, and infuriatingly attractive, Blackwell claims he can guide her through the lethal trials ahead. Ophelia knows she shouldn't trust Blackwell. Worse still, she feels a dark and irresistible attraction drawing them closer and closer. And in Phantasma, the only thing deadlier than losing the game is losing your heart. So I like that we've got this fantasy element going on here, but it's a lot more dark and kind of gothic vibes as opposed to the fantasy that we've got going on in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and that we've also got like a nice non-fiction to sort of balance things out. So I feel like it is a well-rounded August. Let me know in the comments down below, what books are you currently reading and what ones are on your TBR for the month ahead. To wrap things up, I just want to have a quick chat that is conveniently also about books. Now, if you didn't know, I do have a second channel. It's called Our Little Library, and I'm super passionate about that because I love reading. I love talking about books. I love reading books. I love reading to my son, and I'm really passionate about increasing that love of reading in our younger generation. So I started this channel, Our Little Library, where I was doing weekly read aloud books for kids, 2 videos a week, and then I introduced a 1 chapter weekly reading aloud for adults. And it was going super well, I thought. But sort of one thing initially came up against me, and that's the fact that I had music underneath my videos that I put up that was later copyrighted, because I use Epidemic Sound for my main channel, and I thought that I would be able to use that also for my Our Little Library because it's just coming under me. But apparently if you're doing multiple channels, you need to, increase your subscription. So I had to, 1, mute the sound in the videos that I had used, totally fine, and then not use any sound from there on out. So that was like kind of an easy fix. But the next thing that happened is, in putting up one of my more recent read alouds for kids, I was looking into it a bit further, and copyright kind of came up for me. Now, being a teacher, I know a lot about like copyright. We have to think about that a lot in terms of the content that we're using and sharing and whatnot. And I thought initially, or assumed, that because I was in the videos, I'm holding the book, we can see the whole scene, I'm like using my voice, I'm adding my own, etc., etc., that I was creating an adaptation of it and my own variation, if you will, and that would help me get around any copyright issues. But that is not the case. So essentially, if I wanted to avoid copyright strikes, I would need to reach out to the publisher, which is very strenuous, or I would need to use them for educational purposes only, which, being a teacher, it could happen, but that would mean that I'd not put them on a public platform, and you can really only put them up there for like a certain short period of time if you're using them in the classroom. Or the other way around it would be to use like more vintage texts that are out of copyright and they're in the public domain. So essentially, I wouldn't be able to monetize that channel because I'd just get a heap of copyright strikes. I could even be like in line for that now without it being monetized. So because of that, I've made the decision not to continue putting any content up on my second channel. I do have a couple more videos that I'd already filmed that I will be editing and uploading for August, but after that, I'm just going to leave what I've got up there for people to access, and then just not continue to invest any time in it, because there's no point in me putting time and energy into something that I'm not going to be able to build, or that's likely to be shut down and therefore not be able to have that benefit to people. So it's essentially not benefiting me, and it won't be able to benefit others either. So it's kind of sad that that is the case. And it makes me think, well, if I can't do my Our Little Library, maybe there's a way that I can start including a bit more book content on my main channel. Obviously, I've been doing all of my book reviews and TBR with in this monthly reset routine. I don't know if there's scope for me to do it as its own separate video, like whether there would be enough interest in that. I do have like a heap of other book recommendations and bookish vlogs and whatnot. And I would like to continue to include that because I love talking about books. I'd love to have like a book of the month that we all collectively, if you want to opt into it, read, and then we do like a deep dive review and deconstruction and get in the comments and like add your thoughts and opinions, etc., and talking points and whatnot. I think that would be really cool and a great interactive feature on my channel in the future. But it's just whether there is an interest in that or not. Anyway, a lot of yabbering about something that probably doesn't impact or interest a lot of you guys, but I thought that I would just give you an update because I'm the type of person that likes to do things properly. And if I'm starting a channel, I want to carry on with it. I don't want to just ghost and not offer an opinion on that. But hopefully we are now reset, realigned, and reinvigorated for our month ahead. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe down below. I upload new ones every single week. With that being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, a great start to August, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys.